Hello everyone and welcome to Conversations That Matter, a short 5-part series where we're exploring the content and context of business interactions. I'm Lewis Richardson, and I'm going to serve as your guide as we take a closer and curious look at what we tend to do instinctively and how we can possibly do it better. If there was one conversation that we use the most, I'd have to go with this one, the imagining conversation. Your belief goal for this conversation is a shared vision and trusted credibility. You'd think these are the times when we get to promote what we know and what we can do, and that all too often that's exactly what we do. Think about the client-facing presentations you've given or seen. Many of them, early in the deck, start positioning Synity's credentials in the market, our success in the space, our experience and depth. And even if you followed the journey of belief and have them interested in what you do, and if they find it relevant to their needs, this isn't the time for garish self-promotion. Consider Sherpas. There's a great National Geographic video that explores this topic, but Sherpas is not a job. It's an ethnic group that lives in the Himalayas. They aren't just porters. In fact, most of the porter work is served by other people groups. Sherpas are some of the world's most skilled athletes, yet they serve those who have a desire to summit Everest. Most Sherpa families have at least one, if not numerous, family members who have summited Everest. In fact, one Sherpa in particular has reached the summit 25 times. These people live on the mountain, they thrive on the mountain, and they serve others. And you don't summit Everest without Sherpas. For our clients who want to summit some data transformational journey, we are their Sherpas. This imagining conversation is where you don't take the perspective of the Western climber who has summited Everest and can tell of that one experience. This is where you take the perspective of the humble, confident Sherpa who is the only one they can trust to get them safely to the summit. That quiet confidence, that swagger, will speak volumes to people who might be looking for a partner they can count on. And thus far, you've shared the why and the what. These conversations are where you share the details of how this all works. This is where you let them in on what it's needed to succeed. You speak from experience about what the destination looks like. Most likely, this is where you'll start showing them examples using demonstration. These are the day-in-the-life scenarios, and when the audience is purely technical, these can go pretty deep into the inner workings of the solution. But one word of caution, we're pretty good at going deep. In fact, Synity probably does deep as good as anyone else, so it's our natural go-to game plan. But going too deep, too fast, and with the wrong audience can risk them feeling lost or overwhelmed and believing the journey is just too complex to warrant the risk of challenging their status quo, so they basically do nothing. Like discovery conversations, you'll likely engage in multiple imagining conversations before moving on. And the audience in this stage can vary greatly, so be prepared to share your vision and credentials at a high level when you have a line of business audience, and have your deep dive conversation ready when the audience requires that level of exposure. If this all strikes you as a bit high level, think back to those opportunities where you didn't connect with the customer. I'm going to guess that it's a rare case when they'd say, well, we didn't select you because your solution was just too simple and straightforward. The journey they're about to take is hard. We know that. And it's likely they know that. But it's harder to get people to move when they're prompted by fear. For instance, Sherpas don't get new customers by showing them pictures of them retrieving frozen bodies off the mountain. They show them summit pictures of smiling, happy explorers who they've helped get there. So use language that promotes confidence and have them picture themselves in the possible future state. What would it look like if you could? We can get you there. And one last point. If you can't get them through this effort, in other words, if you can sense they aren't with you as you speak of how this works, stop. Reconsider whether you might need to revisit earlier imagining topics. You may have some new participants, or maybe there was an extended time between conversations where they lost sight of what they had previously discovered. And in those cases, just drop back briefly and recap with confidence. If you remember from our last time together, you'd expressed there was value in whatever. Assuming this is still true, let's look at how we get there. And when you're done here, all that's left is the last stage of the journey of belief, the confirmation conversation, which we'll cover in our last session. Now, I hope you found this to be interesting and helpful in some way, and I don't assume it's the only way, but it's helped myself and others sort through the belief journey process. And if you're someone who's listening, and you have your own successful way to progress deals, I would encourage you to share your insight with myself and with others. And for now, check out the workbook portion of this session and consider what actions you can take to have more meaningful and successful imagining conversations.